When we made the difficult decision to cancel the remainder of our spring 2020 season, we decided to maintain contact with the Cal Performances public twice a week via a simple gesture of video playlists delivered to the inboxes of those on our email lists. We called this initiative Now More Than Ever, because in that moment we knew that this time of physical distancing, though for the greater good, would remove us from the very things that give our lives meaning, and that we would crave human expression more than ever. It underlined for me what it was that people truly missed, the sense of community that the performing arts provides us all. The permanent bond that comes from that shared, live, ephemeral moment of joy, of wonder, of intimacy, of power, simply cannot be found elsewhere. What happens on our stages is not just art, it is life reflected back to us. It is idealized humanity coming directly to you from the creators, from the performers. It is the human experience distilled into something honest, something real. And as any performer will tell you, without an audience, there is no performance. We now have all known isolation, and in all likelihood, we will continue to know it for a while longer. And in this moment, isolation is necessary for the greater good. We, admirably, have both accepted and embraced that reality. But when that time has passed, the live performing arts will be here for you. We may never go back to quite the way it was before, but we will be better. Between ingenuity, adaptation, and compassion, we will figure it out. And the colors on stage will be more vibrant, the scents more alluring, the flavors that much more potent than ever before. And every person in our halls on the day we are finally able to be together will be transformed, ready to hear together, to witness together, to feel together, even if we are not yet able to embrace each other.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremy Geffen. Our season will begin as the San Francisco Bay Area, along with the rest of the world, enters its long recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. The context around us is fluid, constantly evolving. And at the moment, it is difficult to predict how circumstances will change tomorrow, much less months from now. So there is much uncertainty that remains about the future. But Cal Performances will stay in constant dialogue with the state and local public health officials to ensure our spaces are optimized for safety. There will, in all likelihood, be new information available soon, or even as we approach each event in the season. Cal Performances promises to both react to this information quickly and communicate information about how it affects our events to ticket holders and the general public as soon as we are able. We are also implementing a refund and exchange policy so that patrons can make their plans in advance, but feel free to make the choice that best suits their level of comfort in the days leading up to the performance. But with all of this in mind, I am very excited to share with you the specifics of our 2020-21 season, and I am thrilled to have Rick Malone of KDFC on hand to discuss the season with me. Welcome, Rick, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's terrific to be here with you, even under these very unusual circumstances, but they are unusual for all of us. And so I think that given that, let's get excited about your very first season as director of Cal Performances. Now, you're already putting your stamp on things with a brand new series that you're calling Illuminations. Can you tell us a little bit about your motivation for creating this series and also describe some of the events we'll see under the Illuminations banner?
Certainly, Rick. The arts have always been a mirror for the pressing issues of our time. So the idea here is that we take two pressing issues of our time and examine them through the lens of the performing arts, inviting other units on campus into the discussion. One of the great advantages that Cal Performances has is its context on the grounds of the University of California at Berkeley, one of the great public research universities in the world. And we want to invite our audiences and the community in general into the scholarship and research happening on our campus. The spirit of inquiry, curiosity, intellectual rigor happening in academic departments on campus isn't separate from artistic inquiry and creation. We are trying to understand and address the most pressing issues and concerns of our time together. The idea is to use the performing arts as the uniter of these, bringing these groundbreaking ideas in fields as diverse as neuroscience, journalism, design, and law to the fore. For the first season of Illuminations, we chose two themes. Both include public programs created in collaboration with visiting artists and public events hosted by campus academic departments and research centers. The first is Music and the Mind. With our partners, the Berkeley Brain Initiative, the UC Berkeley faculties of molecular and cell biology and psychology, and Berkeley Public Health. We're also working with UC San Francisco's Weill Institute for Neurosciences and the collaborative Weill NeuroHub. This theme will explore the transformative power of music and its therapeutic potential.
There is this magic to music. You'll never meet anyone who says that they don't love it. They may love something completely different than the person sitting next to them, but there's a really strong connection, and yet we don't really know how to explain why there is this connection.
Our lives are defined by the things we hear and the things we like. They become gateways to remember the events that occurred at different times in our lives.
And I think what we're seeing now in renewed interest in arts and health is a realization that the arts and science and medicine all work together.
Every year there is some new study that comes out that reveals that the key to dealing with some form of long-term degenerative disease is related to music. The musical memory, the emotive memory, is the last aspect of the personality to go in cases of Alzheimer's disease.
Sound is an amazing thing. So what makes this study really important of music and of sound? Music is one of these, higher cognitive functions. And the more classes of higher cognitive functions that you can explore, the better an understanding you will have of something that you can say as a general feature of how the brain works and how it generates our experiences of mind.
Why do we cry in certain music? Why does certain music lift us up, make us feel joy, or inspire us to action? I felt instinctively that not enough people knew about this work. And I also felt that it helps music and the arts maintain a place in society that they really should have.
I think at the essence of both artistry and science is observation. And I think artists are often trying to find the simplest and most powerful expression of something that they've seen in life.
When one is planning to present series that are based on pressing issues of our time, there is no shortage of topics. There seems to be a divide between the artistic and the scientific, and the reality is that they are linked. The choice of music and the mind as a theme is a way to bridge those two worlds and show that there actually is a lot that they share.
There's musical elements, I think we will eventually understand, to have more power over us, whether it's melody, certain harmonies, harmonic tension.
With the enormous strengths on this campus in neurology, in psychology, with the birth of the Berkeley Brain Initiative and more recently the Weill NeuroHub, this is something that is, pardon the pun, very front of mind.
As audience members in a community like ours, people can think about their own lives in a way that's much more enriched.
Our job in putting on Music and the Mind is to pose a series of questions, and for audiences and patrons and the larger community to find what this relationship means to them. We are poised to explore these conversations in a way that no other campus is.
Fact or fiction? Our UC Berkeley partners include Berkeley Arts Plus Design, Berkeley Law, the Graduate School of Journalism, the School of Information, Berkeley Library, and the Townsend Center for Humanities. Fact or fiction examines how both artists and scholars balance storytelling and poetic license with questions of historical accuracy.
There's no shortage of things to fact check.
PolitiFact.
But did they get their facts straight?
Powerful fact checking. You are perfectly entitled to your own opinions, not to your own facts.
Or to spread misinformation.
Get your facts straight.
Okay, fact check.
Fact checkers.
Quick fact check.
How important is it to have a dialogue around the issues of fact and fiction? I care so much about this. I think it's absolutely crucial. And I think people are recognizing how crucial it is. Now with the digital revolution, we're at the dawn of the second age of information. And I think all of the evidence suggests that it's going to be just as important to civilization as the first was.
We're at a time when truth versus fiction are so much in doubt. Are there such things as facts? And if there's not facts, can there be falsehood?
There's not an aspect of our lives where we don't have to deal with this tension between what information is reliable and what isn't.
And I'm so excited that Cal Performance is exploring this in a very powerful way.
Human beings are capable of entertaining simultaneous and conflicting realities. And that is complicated, but it's also beautiful because it allows us the ability to exercise poetic license. There's a dark side to that, but this is something we need to understand about ourselves, that we think of as the truth can actually be held simultaneously with conception of those same events that is not true. This is an exploration of what we know and what we think we know.
Arts and entertainment are a key way in which expression is done. Or certainly the performing arts can reach people in a way that supplements what other media can do. Art can be very powerful. Entertainment can be parody and satire that conveys powerful ideas.
When we go to a performance of a work that is based on historical events, we are able to separate the dramaturgical reality that is presented on stage from the historical reality of the events upon which that piece is based. There is often an inherent conflict between fact and desired outcome. And there is a perception that the arts are somehow removed from the pressing issues of our time. And by examining the creative impulse and how it can be used to amplify the values a culture wishes to see in itself, we can become better equipped to view the world with a critical eye that will move us forward.
I think it's important to understand that we are here, particularly at a public institution, to serve society. And so I think it's important for universities to always reach out to the broader community and to engage them on the key and important issues of the day.
And so I think it's great that Cal Performance is exploring this line between truth and fiction, facts and falsehood, in a way in which be very thought-provoking and really cause a great dialogue about this issue.
If we can get people to be surprised and to recognize how important fact versus fiction issues are throughout aspects of our lives, including in the arts, I think that would be a really important contribution that this series has to the educational mission of this university, to make us all more thoughtful citizens, make us better able to lead our lives in an increasingly complex world.
Now, you've made some very close relationships throughout the course of your career with artists from several different generations. You're bringing some of them to Cal Performances for the first time. Others have been here before. And some are bringing something totally new with them, like the London-based Baroque ensemble, the English Concert.
Yes, we're really excited that the English Concert will launch a new multi-season project with us this season. They'll return every season to perform an opera or oratorio, usually by Handel, and this year it will be Handel's Tamerlano. Tamerlano is one of Handel's greatest operas, not so often performed, and one of the few Handel operas with a tenor in a major role. Here's a remote video conversation I had with the English Concert's artistic director, Harry Bickett, a couple of days ago while we were both sheltering in place in our respective homes.
And it is my great pleasure today to be connected via the magic of Zoom to the western coast of Scotland, where Harry Bickett, artistic director of the English Concert, is self-isolating with his family. So Harry, welcome. It's so nice to see you and to have a glimpse into the way that a conductor lives.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to be here. And of course, the west coast of Scotland is probably the place that originated the term self-isolation. Most of these people, life has not changed at all because we never see anybody anyways. But it's a pleasure to be here and amazing that I can talk to you about the wonders of modern science through to Berkeley. It's amazing.
Beginning next season, Cal Performances is entering into an initiative with the English Concert by which you and the English Concert will bring a Handel opera or oratoria, most of the time, to us for performance in concert. So unstaged with no costumes and maybe very light staging. And this is something that we've been doing together for a number of years elsewhere, but it's been transformative for the audiences who have experienced it. I wanted to back up for a moment, though, because I remember you saying to me that when you began as artistic director of the English Concert, that you felt it was very important for this Baroque orchestra or ensemble to undertake the operatic literature. And why was that?
Well, the orchestra, the history of the orchestra is basically the history of its music directors. When I took over, I came very much from partly a keyboard background, but for at least the previous 20 years, the opera house. And it seemed to me extraordinary that you could have one of the great period orchestras of the world somehow omitting this massive part of the Baroque repertoire. I mean, so much of the music of the 18th century was choral or operatic. And that seemed to me a whole new area for them to explore. But also with that repertoire brings in new people. And I think the people we collaborate with are as important many times as the members of the orchestra.
Well, it's been a complete revelation for the audiences who have had a chance to hear these complete Handel operas or oratorios, many of which had not really seen the light of day or had not been appreciated because the way that opera houses operate today, they need to sell multiple performances, and there are just a handful of Handel operas that are well known to the public today. What I've loved about this exploration, which we're now bringing to Berkeley, is that it gives you a chance to experience the less well-known, but certainly not less high quality Handel.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I was a student at Oxford many years ago, I mean, Handel opera wasn't really even discussed. It wasn't even, if you talked about Handel, then of course you talked about the oratorios, about the Concerti Grossi, Messiah, maybe, those the big pieces that were known in those days. And of course, if you talk to someone in the 18th century and said, what does George Handel do? And they'd say, well, he writes opera. I mean, they wouldn't say he wrote the Morte music. That was not actually a very typical piece of his. But the operas were where he cut his teeth, if you like, and he was probably the most celebrated opera composer of his day. He wrote around 40 operas. I mean, some of them are pasticcios. In other words, they're mixes of things that he wrote on other people. They're not all of the same quality. I mean, some he had to do very quickly. A lot of them he sort of self-borrowed. He recycled some of his own material. But what I would say is that actually I don't think Handel really cared very much about the plots. I think they were really just vehicles to explore many, many truths, human, timeless truths. Things like what it's like to be a good leader, a good ruler. How does power corrupt? What does it mean to truly love somebody? What does it truly mean to love somebody who's just betrayed you? And all of these things are very modern ideas, and they may be cloaked in the 18th century rhetoric, but the ideas, the emotions, the heartache of human existence has not really changed very much.
You know, one thing I don't think I've mentioned to you is that we have two themes running through next season, one of which is fact or fiction, which is about what we know versus what we think we know, and how stories are told. And we're using Tamerlano as an example because Timur the Lame, Timur the Great, was a real historical figure. He was a 14th century Turco-Mongol conqueror, and all of a sudden you have this fascination with him 200 or 300 years later in Europe by people who really didn't know anything about him besides what little they had read, and which was usually from the perspective of Western Christians rather than his own people. And we're going to examine who the real Timur was, and versus how he is portrayed in Handel's opera.
That would be very, very interesting. And as you say, I think, and it also feeds into this whole idea of the fear of foreignness, which is as modern as you can get.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know anything about that today at all. Well, look, I feel like we've taken a lot of your time, and especially your at cocktail hour in or Scotch hour, which may be every hour.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't know there was an hour, but it's.
But it's been such a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you so much for giving your time. And to everyone who is listening to this interview, just check out the Cal Performances website for more information on the English Concerts performances at Cal Performances, beginning in April 21, but going on for as long as we are able to keep it up.
And tell me about some of the artists who are going to be here for your recital series.
In Berkeley, we're fortunate enough to have adventurous audiences who are uniquely enthusiastic about nurturing the next generation of artists, the artists that you don't yet know you can't live without. I've been surprised and delighted by how our audiences will seek out performances by artists they've never heard of before. And as an artistic programmer, that's incredibly freeing and exciting. We have on our recital series this season, dramatic soprano Christine Gerke, mezzo-soprano Jamie Barton with composer and pianist Jake Heggie, who also has the distinction of having been a Cal Performances staffer at one point. And we have three young stars on the rise. From Italy, pianist Beatrice Rana, from Korea, pianist Songjin Cho, and from Kentucky, violinist Tessa Lark. We also have some incredible next generation chamber groups. The acclaimed Dover Quartet makes their first appearance at Cal Performances. Why Music, a new music and indie rock group with an unusual instrumentation of violin, viola, cello, how could I forget viola, flute, clarinet, and French horn and trumpet in the same person. And Nico Muhly and friends paying tribute to Muhly's mentor, Philip Glass, for whom Nico worked.
Plus some really talented jazz artists appearing for the first time.
I'm thrilled to be able to present Jasmia Horn here. For those of you who saw her in our video playlist series, you heard her performance of Tight, which was tight. We also have the all-women collective Artemis, which is the brainchild of pianist and composer Rini Rosnes.
And of course, many returning artists, a lot of old favorites coming back, like who?
Cal Performance's favorites return as in past years, often with programs selected specifically for Berklee audiences. Mark Morris Dance Group and Philharmonia Baroque Orchestra and Chorale reunite for a revival Cal Performances has co-commissioned of Rameau's comic opera Platée, which was first performed at Cal Performances in 1998 and has not been seen on our stages since 2001 and has not been seen anywhere in the world since 2004. Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater returns for its annual residency in April. Also, the Takash String Quartet will come for 2 concerts. Jordi Savall is joined by 2 of his ensembles, La Capella Real de Catalunya and Le Concert des Nations, for a performance of selections from Monteverdi's 8th book of madrigals, The Madrigals of Love and War. And David Finkel and Wu Han perform all 5 of Beethoven's sonatas for cello and piano.
Another amazing lineup. What's going on in Dance and World Stage?
One of the great assets of Cal Performances is the stage in Zellerbach Hall, which is one of the few that is able to welcome some of the largest, most esteemed dance companies in the world. This season, we couldn't be happier to welcome the return of Miami City Ballet. They were last with us in October 2007, but here they are returning in works by Balanchine, Justin Peck, and Alexei Rachmansky. We have Cloudgate Dance Theater of Taiwan in a program that spans their most recent artistic director as well as their current artistic director. And Eichmann Ballet returns for a performance of Russian Hamlet. In terms of world stage, we have a wonderful series of offerings, including Oaxacan singer and activist Leela Downs, tabla virtuoso and Bay Area local Zakir Hussein and his Masters of Percussion, and another Bay Area local, Van An Vo, the award-winning traditional Vietnamese instrumentalist and vocalist, with her Blood Moon Orchestra to perform the world premiere of her multicultural Songs of Strength. One of the choreographers we're most excited to bring is Caleb Teicher, who comes with his company in a project that was developed with pianist and composer Conrad Tao. Caleb Teicher is one of the world's great tap dancers. He's also a Lindy Hop expert, and he is a former member of Michelle Dorrance's Dorrance Dance. We are bringing Boy Blue from London. They are self-described as a hip-hop dance group, though their points of reference go far beyond hip-hop. And for the first time, we are bringing the well-established Ballet Hispanico with a program of all-women choreographers.
You know, it's so hard to single out anything as a highlight of the season, but every year one of the highlights is the big orchestra residency. And some high-profile repeat visitors this year to Cal Performances, the Vienna Philharmonic and Gustavo Dudamel. Is this the first time they've appeared here together?
Indeed, this is the first time they will have appeared here together, though they each have appeared here in the past. Gustavo Dudamel and the Vienna Philharmonic have a well-established rapport. They've worked together many times around the world, in Vienna and on tour. This is their exclusive West Coast appearance, and they're bringing 3 different programs featuring Russian masterworks, including Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade, Tchaikovsky's 5th Symphony, Prokofiev's 1st and 5th Symphonies, plus major works by Schubert, Ravel, and Haydn. And we're planning a grand gala benefit with an elegant pre-performance dinner and a post-performance cocktails and waltzing event on March 4 in the tradition of a Viennese ball. All of this to support our artistic and educational programs. The pre and post performance events will be held in Pauley Ballroom across the plaza from Zellerbach Hall. And I have really special thanks to to all of you who have enthusiastically purchased tables for this historic occasion, or what I know will be a very memorable evening.
A little bit of old Vienna in Berkeley there. Now, you've said earlier that you wanted to let the community into what's happening on campus as part of the season, but Cal Performances itself is going to be involved in campus life as well. You're going to be part of this year's new student orientation. Tell me about that.
Well, the genesis of this idea was that I think there's a misconception that people feel that in order to be considered creative, you must be able to do something at a world-class level or perform at a world-class level. And the reality is that creativity lies within each of us. For this particular occasion, we've invited Caroline Shaw, vocalist, composer, and violinist, who was the youngest person ever to receive the Pulitzer Prize for Music in 2013, to meet incoming students in their Golden Bear orientation. She'll lead them in an interactive singing and composition exercise to help them bond with each other and to start off their Berklee careers with the experience of creativity and connection. I participated in one of these and it was a revelation. It totally changes the tenor of the room and the nature of conversation. And I think it reveals to people that they have creative muscles that they didn't even know existed.
That is going to be a remarkable event. And are there any other highlights or artists that you're particularly excited about for the coming season?
Well, there are many that I haven't mentioned, but just to mention a couple more. It's so rare to have Mitsuko Uchida on the West Coast of the US, especially to have her in the Bay Area. And she's coming with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, with whom she has established a long-term project around Mozart piano concerti. So she'll be bringing 2 Mozart piano concertos, which she will lead from the keyboard, and the orchestra will play Janáček's Mládí without her. We, on the other end of the spectrum, Angelique Kidjo is returning to Cal Performances with her Remain in Light project, which is based on the album of the same name by the Talking Heads from the early 80s. Angelique heard in this music something that reminded her of, well, African music. And so she took it upon herself to, with the blessing of the Talking Heads, re-Africanize the album. And the result is actually available for commercial release. You can hear it, but anyone who has seen Angelique live knows that she is a performer like no one else. She is completely electric and she dances across the room. We also have the great musical mind, Jeremy Denk, performing the first book of Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier. And we have many more performances in dance, theater, chamber music, jazz, and performance traditions from around the world.
Again, it's so hard to pick out a highlight. But with that, I understand that we have some greetings from some of the artists on the season.
Yes, we invited many of our artist friends to share with us how much they are looking forward to coming to Berklee.
Hello, Cal Performances. My name is Andrew Norman.
My name is Mitsuko Uchida.
Hi everybody, it's Paula Cole.
I am Angelique Kidjo.
I'm violinist Tessa Lark.
I'm Nadia Sirota from Y Music.
Namaste, I'm Rahis Bharti, director of the Dhamal Dancers and Musicians of India.
My name is Jamie Barton.
Hi, this is Songjin Cho. Hello from my barn in the Catskills.
I'm Nico Muley, reporting to you from my studio in quarantine.
I am looking forward to come back to Zellerbach in Berklee. I love that hall.
I am super excited to be performing at Zellerbach Theater.
And I'm really looking forward to make my debut next season for the Cal Performances.
We also just wanted to say how happy we are to be part of Jeremy Geffen's first season with you as artistic director.
I am absolutely thrilled that my music is coming back to the Bay Area.
We are especially looking forward to bringing the most profound, beautiful, childish, deep, romantic and wise music I know.
We've had wonderful adventures with our Berklee audiences over the years and we can't wait for the next one.
And I love the audience. It's an audience that really feels from the stage as if you're there to enjoy yourself.
And I am very excited because I have never been to Berklee.
We're so excited to be playing our first concert at Cal Performances.
I'm telling you, after this confinement, I hope you guys are ready for party. Put your dancing shoes on, come back, and then we celebrate our shared humanity.
Even in times of great adversity, great art can flourish.
I'm sort of thinking of when I will finally be able to play some concerts.
And so I'm hoping that after we come out at the other end of this madness, that the music will speak differently.
Sending you lots of love, positive energy, positive vibrations.
So I look forward to your sophisticated ears and open hearts.
We can't wait to share some great music with you live.
So I so look forward to being with you.
And in the meantime, please
stay healthy.
Stay safe. Wash your hands.
And we're back. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. The season sounds absolutely incredible. It's your first season as director of Cal Performances. Good luck. And of course, there's a whole lot of information that people can explore at the Cal Performances website.
Thank you so much, Rick, for doing this. This wasn't exactly how I envisioned announcing my first season, but I'm very happy to be doing it with you. There's so many great performances to look forward to. I want to thank everyone who has supported Cal Performances throughout this difficult time. I'd also like to send a huge thank you to the staff who have worked tirelessly to put this season together and who shifted their efforts to do so under certainly less than desirable circumstances. So I'm extremely impressed with everyone on the Cal Performances team. I want to also thank our supportive and trusted advisors on the Board of Trustees who have been invaluable as we navigate this unprecedented climate. And I want to thank all of our audiences, donors and patrons alike, for keeping Cal Performances close to their heart and for being with us through thick and thin. It will be so nice when we are all able to be together again.